What is up, guys, and welcome back to Koi's Corner. Now, there are two types of people. We have people that believe we can travel around the Earth, and then people who believe we travel only across the Earth.
Let me just stop you right there, Koi boy. You can go around the Earth on a globe, and you can go around the Earth on a flat Earth. Am I the first one to break that to you?
But not really, because modern science has all but proven that the Earth is round.
Well, you're right. Modern science has all but proven that the Earth is round. They've done all but prove it.
But many people think there are faults in this science, that there is a giant global conspiracy going on, and that the Earth is in fact flat instead. So this begs the question, is there any possible means or scenario that we could live on a flat Earth, or is it all just nonsense? Let's find out.
And then you went and you showed that flat Earth picture. You think that's what flat earthers think the Earth is? A chunk of land floating around in space with the ocean spilling off the sides? Oh, cool. Alright, two can play at that game. Here's what you round earthers think that the Earth is.
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. Yeah. It gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning, and it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere, it's oblate, and officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good word. It's like pear-shaped. 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 Pear-shaped.
To understand how we even got to this point in 2016, we have to understand the origins of this flat Earth theory, and especially the examples it uses to try to hold its own weight against modern science and the spherical Earth we all assume we live on. Because the concept of a flat Earth makes conceptual sense from our human perspective. From our vantage, when we look around, the ground is flat. Even when we're at the ocean and the beach, it's pretty much a solid flat line as far as we can see. The Earth's curvature itself just really isn't visible. So why wouldn't it be flat if it looks flat? This was a thought shared by thousands, if not millions, of humans for thousands of years as we evolved and came to be. From ancient China, who envisioned us living on a square styled flat Earth with a circular heaven, all the way to ancient Egypt, who believed we lived on a flat Earth that was fully surrounded in all parts by water and oceans and moats, and the land was what was in the middle. This was what they viewed the world as back before we had any sense of understanding that it could have been round.
Say it's a ball. Why do you keep saying round? It's like you see them just collapse with their balls. They don't even have balls to say it's a ball.
This is round, bro.
That's round.
This is the Earth. The Earth
is round too,
a coffee cup. The Earth is a coffee cup. Because the coffee cup is round. We're inside.
Well, you know what?
It's fucking round. That's the Earth, dude.
Yeah, well, I've seen some people with some pretty flat
That
heads.
is the Earth. Jar lid, that's round.
Really?
Paper plate is round.
Like round like that?
The Earth is round like a plate?
No, it's round like a ball.
Oh.
It's like they can't say it.
Oh, I
Is it
thought
round like this? And they go, no, it's round like a ball. And then they get embarrassed.
Why don't they just say ball?
Because they don't have the balls, dude.
Oh.
So it's round like that. And chicken shit?
Even some of the world's most famous pre-Socratic philosophers also viewed and thought that the Earth was a flat surface, that all of the Earth and all existence was flat. In fact, back then, Aristotle was actually kind of famous for not agreeing with the flat Earth theory. And this wasn't some short-lived fad. Some parts of the world still didn't even come to think that a round Earth was possible until about 1,000 years ago, when it was fully, as an idea, sort of drowned out. But it's made a resurgence, and this is a fact so ingrained within our minds that it still shows today with modern flat Earth movements. Especially recently on Twitter, there have been tons of it. From B.O.B. to Tila Tequila, all these people claiming that we live on a flat Earth.
The Flat Earth Society is a controlled opposition group designed to keep people away from the real Flat Earth research. Tila Tequila and B.O.B. are D-list celebrities who, in my opinion, are agent provocateurs designed to make the flat earth look like nonsense. And besides, these are D-list celebrities. They don't really matter. The fact that you mentioned the Flat Earth Society and the fact that you even mentioned B.O.B. and tequila shows me that you're at an entry level with your research and you put in minimal time and effort on your Flat Earth research.
But this is all based on overwhelming evidence against Flat Earth theory, and that kind of leaves us in a state of wondering what proof, if any, do Flat Earth theorists have. And from my research, especially on this topic, I've realized that the problem with the Flat Earth theory is that so many of their points are based on logical fallacies. And a logical fallacy is essentially an invalid point of reasoning. So if I present a fact and you say, you have tattoos, you're wrong, that's a logical fallacy because you're attributing a point to a person's personality and those don't correlate. There are thousands of logical fallacies and they do matter when we talk about facts and science. And the flat earth proofs are riddled with them. Many of them include shifting the burden of proof, which basically means, well, I as a flat earther don't have to prove it's flat, you have to prove it's round.
Yeah, well, it's a fallacy in and of itself to say the flat earth proofs are riddled with fallacies, yet you don't give a single example of a flat earther using these fallacies. You just explained the fallacy. You said it's a fallacy that flat earthers shift the burden of proof. Do you have an example of a flat earther doing this? You don't? Okay then, well here's my example. Flat earthers love to prove that it's flat. In fact, here's my proof right now.
As the globe is a point of view you never seen. As the globe is a point of view you never seen. The definition. Stand at about its reality.
2, using what's known as kettle logic, essentially taking little bitty things that make sense by themselves and then drawing them all together to make a model that don't really correlate. So in this case, when there are little bitty things that would work for a flat earth that don't all match together, they still put them together anyways and say that's why the earth is flat. That's also not how science works. And unfortunately, if you are going to take any theory seriously, any scientific theory at least, you can't do so if they are based on these logical fallacies. Now the common flat earth model is this, known as the azimuthal map. This is what it's all based on. In current times, it's changed in the past, but right now, this is pretty much what flat earthers view the earth would look like from space. It's a map originally intended to help radiographers or people that use radio signals or how to transmit them in wars, send them in the right direction to different countries and different cities. Basically, it's a radio trajectory map that flat earthers now think is the actual shape of the earth, or at least the model most likely to be what the earth would look like. Essentially all the continents inside, an ocean around it, and then a giant wall of ice, or Antarctica, encasing the whole globe. They like to cite this too because of the fact that planes don't fly over Antarctica, which makes sense. I mean, if something went wrong, it'd be a lot harder to get a plane in the middle of Antarctica than it would to be getting them going over any other country or for most spots in the ocean. But anyways.
Actually, we are told we don't fly over Antarctica because it is simply too cold. Yeah, they say that we don't fly over Antarctica because the plane's instruments will simply fail due to the severe coldness. Yet somehow we were able to get to the moon and back, which is much more frigid. But according to you, Coy, we don't fly over Antarctica just in case something went wrong, because it's much easier to retrieve a plane out in the middle of the fucking ocean than it is off of Antarctica. Okay.
But anyways, the main point, or one of the main points that flat earthers like to make has to do with centrifugal force. Meaning if you take a tennis ball or anything and you dip it in water and spin it, it looks like this. The water flies out from the middle and just disappears. And they like to argue that if the earth was round, since we're spinning so fast, everybody would just fly off the planet and it wouldn't hold itself together. And while this does make sense, they forget to take into account magnetism, gravity, and mass, which have a lot to do with each other. And it's the reason why a massive object such as Earth does have gravity and therefore pulls things towards its center. So this basic concept in itself pretty much destroys that notion.
Wrong there, Coy. Gravity is a made-up force. Made up just like your graphic. You see that fabric, that net, that grid underneath the Earth there? Yeah, that's not real. No one's ever seen that. That's just a concept that somebody made up. It's as fake as that stupid-looking satellite right next to the fake, stupid-looking Earth. That whole fucking graph right there is absolutely entirely false all the way around. There are no satellites in space, the Earth isn't a spinning ball in space, and there's no fictional fabric called gravity out there. The reason why the water goes shooting off of the ball is because that's what happens when you dip a ball into water and then spin it. The water goes flying off. You ever heard of a ride called the Gravitron? Yeah, the faster it spins, the more you stick to the wall. Pretty much the exact opposite of how gravity is supposed to work.
And magnetism has a lot to do with this too. The easiest shape for water to form is a ball, is a roundness, because water has magnetic polarities. Which is why on Earth we see, as a round Earth, the water is pretty much flat.
What did you just say?
Which is why on Earth we see, as a round Earth, the water is pretty much flat. Which is why on Earth we see, as a round Earth, the water is pretty much flat.
Which is why on Earth we see, as around Earth, the water is pretty much flat. The water is pretty much flat. The water is pretty much flat.
Because it's all pulling itself towards the middle of this giant ball. Much like in space, if we shoot a bunch of water droplets into space, they naturally form a sphere because of these magnetic compositions.
Well, here on Earth, water finds and naturally maintains its level. Out there in fictional outer space, you are led to believe that water naturally turns into spheres. Let me ask you something, Coy. Have you yourself ever been to outer space to test that theory? No, you haven't? Oh, so you gotta take the word of guys like, Scott Kelly, playing ping pong with water in the International Space Station? Yeah, exactly. You have to trust a government agency. You yourself have never been to space and ever seen water turn into spheres. The only way you'll ever see a water be a sphere is in the droplet form. Because any massive amount of water will find and maintain its level. You ever heard of sea level? Yeah, it's level. Horizontal. In fact, level, they use a level to see how flat something is. And they put water inside the level so you can see how flat it actually is.
Another main theory they like to cite, which also goes against all known models of science and doesn't really have any way to disprove it, is the fact that every single image ever made of Earth as it is photoshopped. The moon landings, the Apollo mission around the moon, every single satellite we've ever sent into the sky, every homemade helium balloon that somebody strapped a GoPro to and sent up into the air that took a picture of the Earth that appeared around, that's all fake. It's all a lie and it's all a conspiracy. But at least to me, while I am an advocate of a lot of conspiracies from JFK to 9/11 to Princess Diana's murder, it's just absolutely crazy to assume that every single human picture ever taken of space or of the Earth in space being round is fake. That's just, it's overshooting and it wouldn't make any sense. I understand that this theory and the flat Earth model itself stems from the idea that a government wants to control us and therefore doesn't want us to know the Earth is flat, but the extent of detail a project like this would take just simply wouldn't be possible. And to think that every single person with the drone in their backyard doing this is lying is also a little bit of a misstep. Plain and simple, this is shifting the burden of proof, and therefore this example can't really be used in a scientific method.
Well, NASA actually admits that the majority of their images are composites. They claim to only have a few real images of the Earth from space. They openly admit that these are photoshopped composites.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
what I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space, but I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it.
And as far as the Apollo missions go, NASA seems to show us a different image of the Earth every time they supposedly went to the moon. Sometimes the image would be a huge Earth from the moon. Sometimes it would be a small Earth from the moon. They can't quite decide how big or how small the damn Earth is from the moon. And the reason why that is because the moon landings are an absolute hoax. Yeah, that's right. Take a few minutes and look into the moon landing hoax. You see this spacecraft right here? Yeah, that's the Lunar Module. Yeah, it looks more like a homeless tweaker shelter if you ask me. And if you want to talk about high altitude balloon footage, here's some for you right here. This is from 121,000 feet high. Do you see a curve? I sure as hell don't. No matter how high you send up your weather balloon, no matter how high you go in an airplane, no matter what mountain you climb, you're going to see a flat, horizontal horizon. Hey, think about that. Horizontal, horizon. They don't call it the curvizon, do they? So according to you, this has to be impossible because everyone with a picture from space or with a drone in their backyard would all have to be lying? I'm not sure what you were talking about when you referred to the drone in the backyard, but as far as pictures from space, in order to acquire a picture of the Earth from space, you would have to be an astronaut. And who do the astronauts work for? NASA? Oh, the government? So a fraction of the people who are alive in the world today have been to space and took a picture of the Earth, and those people work for the government. And you yourself said you believe in some conspiracies like 9/11 and Princess Diana's death, but I guess it's too big of a leap for you to think the government would ever lie to you.
Scientific method. Another common one is that surveyors across the world like to use flat earth math to kind of build all of our infrastructure, all of our cities, everything we know. And while this is true, we do use math as if the world was flat to build our cities and to build our homes and to build roads and whatnot. It's because of how big Earth is and how small we are. Because with a circumference of nearly 25,000 miles from where I am right now all the way around the planet back to me, it makes sense that the Earth is flat and therefore we use flat math. Because if we put a human compared to the radius of Earth on a graph, this circle would appear to be a straight line for over 40 miles. That's how wide the Earth is. And 40 miles is hundreds of times larger than any man-made structure we've ever made as one continuous entity. Quite simply, there's no need to factor curvature into this math because we don't visualize it and we can't feel it or notice it. And this curvature is so subtle that even with the straight things we make, such as roads and railways, it's so subtle that it wouldn't affect this math. And therefore, if you kept building these things, you wouldn't even know if they ever started curving.
So according to you, surveyors use flat earth math to build roads and to build cities? Would you mind giving an example? Oh, that's right, you didn't give any example of flat earth math, or any math for that matter. You know why they don't use this curvature chart which I'm providing? It's because the Earth is fucking flat. That's why they don't use this curvature chart. According to you, they don't use this curvature chart because the Earth is so big. Well, you can't have it both ways. If the Earth curves, which you claim it does, then there must exist a curvature drop which we can measure. And they have. You round earthers have measured this thing out. If the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference, there must exist a curvature drop of 8 inches times the mile when you square the mile. So 1 mile means there should be an 8-inch curvature drop. 2 miles, 2 times 2 times 8 is 32. That's 32-inch drop. 3 miles would be a 72-inch drop. And this would exponentially continue. Now, are you telling me that all these roads and all these bridges we've made don't have to account for that curvature? I hate to break it to you, but Lake Pontchartrain Bridge is 23.8 miles long. That means there should be a curvature drop of 377 feet. Do you see a curvature drop of 377 feet? I sure as hell don't. And let me take it up a notch. Here's the longest bridge in the world, the Danyang Kongchon Grand Bridge in China. 102.4 miles long. There should exist nearly 7,000 feet of curvature drop in that bridge. 7,000 foot curvature drop. Do you see it? It ain't there. Look at the horizon. It's flat.
So that idea and that theory too is sort of thrown out the window, and there are hundreds of different theories. There's actually a full book called 200 Reasons That the Earth is Flat, available as a PDF on Google. If you Google it, I will put the link in my description, that has 200 reasons the Earth is flat, and they just don't hold up compared to modern science. And this is why. Quite frankly, I never even wanted to do this video because I know how redundant it is, and even though I did try to keep an open mind and do research on it, nothing even came close to the science that we have on a basic 6th grade level to explain how the Earth is round. That's because for every one reason the Earth is flat, there are thousands of proofs that the Earth is round, and therefore it's not even a competition. This was known from ancient India to ancient Greece. It was a major thing in the past, and was why, as it combated with the flat Earth theory thousands of years ago, the flat Earth theory was destroyed and the round Earth theory took over. Or I shouldn't even say round Earth theory, I should just say a round Earth. So how is it proven? Let me count thy ways. Now I'm gonna keep this very simple, and if you want to know more about them or more detail on this, feel free to Google any of these topics. There are huge Wikipedia articles on them, huge studies they've done online, but I wanna keep it simple for you guys so I don't have to waste your time with any of this. So let's go over this quickly. Number one, and the simplest way to know we live on a round Earth, is because of math. It's something known as spherical geometry. Basically, because of how round and big the Earth is, if you draw a giant triangle, it doesn't equal 180 degrees like it would on a flat plane. That's as simple as it gets, and the only way this is possible is if we live on a round Earth. Otherwise, it would work. It would equal 180 degrees every single time, and it doesn't. Now again, like I said, on a small scale in your hometown, in my city, it would work, but on a global scale, when we measure these things, it doesn't work. And that is how, through simple 6th grade math, using a very simple set of right and acute angles, we can see that the Earth is round by default. So if you graduated 6th grade and you understand geometry, boom, there you go. You have now proven that the Earth is round.
Coy, you silly boy, you haven't proven anything. That's a fake picture of the Earth with a triangle on it. Once you put a triangle on a fake picture of the Earth, the triangle itself becomes meaningless. That isn't math. That isn't spherical geometry. It's just a triangle on a fake picture of the Earth. You yourself have never went and done a global measurement with this triangle to see if it doesn't equal 180, and you even admitted on a flat plane it would equal 180, and you also admitted if you tried this on a small scale around your hometown it would equal 180. You were only told that on a global level it won't equal 180, but you yourself have never went and done this measurement. Anyone with a 6th grade level of education would know that maybe you should try these experiments yourself before you go piping off. But maybe that's as far as you got, 6th grade.
Is round. The second reason, and one that has a lot to do with something we see pretty much every night, is Mr. Moon. How does the moon prove the Earth is round? Because if you look up at the moon right now, I'm not sure what phase it's in, but you'll probably see a curve of a shadow on the moon. Now, if we lived on a flat Earth, there would be a straight line going through the moon because that shadow would be straight. The only way that shadow can be curved is if the world is a sphere, because that's what a sphere does. It has a curved shadow. That's our second example, and it's that simple.
So according to you, since the Earth is round and the moon has a curved shadow, that has to prove that the Earth is round because the moon has a curved shadow. Well, I don't know if you've noticed this, but every single month you can see the moon and the sun up together in the sky at the same time. And it's a half moon. The half moon will be up with the sun. Every single month this happens. You'll see them up there together. And you can draw a straight line between the sun and the moon. Why isn't it a full moon? How the hell is that the Earth's shadow getting up there on the moon? That's what you're claiming? That since the Earth is round, that's the round Earth's shadow getting up there on the moon? How exactly is the shadow of the Earth getting up there on the moon when the sun and the moon are both up during the day at the same time? I can draw a straight line between the two. Oh, you don't like my childish drawing? Here, let me show it to you in real life. So here you go. You got the half moon in the sky, and just across the way, we can draw a nice straight line right over to the sun. We got the sun and the moon both up at the same time. You can draw a straight line between the two. So why is it a half moon? It should definitely be a full moon. If the moon is reflecting the sun's light and they're both up at the same time, whoop, there's the sun. Hello. Draw a straight line from it straight to the moon, and it's only lighting up half the moon. It most definitely should be a full moon. If you can draw a straight line between the two, it should be lighting up the moon. That obviously proves that the shape of the Earth has nothing to do with what's going on with the moon. And if you really look into it, you just might find out that the moon is a light of its own. The moon appears to be putting off its own light, and the people who've checked into it and measured the moon's light have found out that the moon's light appears to be cold, and those who have measured the temperature of the moon's light have found it to be that the moon's shade is warmer than the direct moonlight, the exact opposite of the sun's light.
3, which is pretty simple to see, especially if you live near the beach, is how the horizon curves. We can see it with ships on the horizon. Again, if we lived on a flat Earth, technically with a powerful enough telescope, I could see any point on the whole planet from a high enough vantage, and that's as simple as it is. I could see anywhere I wanted on all of Earth if I was high enough up in the sky, but we can't. Even at ground level, we as humans only have about 4 miles of our field of view, which is why as soon as a boat starts getting about 4 miles out in the water, it starts disappearing below the water. If it was a flat Earth, it would just keep getting smaller and smaller, going straight, not dipping below it.
Let me address your first incorrect statement. You said if the Earth was flat, you could see anywhere on the planet with a powerful enough telescope? Okay, well if it's flat, don't call it a planet. And actually, even on a flat Earth, you can't see forever. Believe it or not, your human eyes are limited. Your vision is limited by the vanishing point of your perception. And your vision also will be limited by many factors such as weather patterns. Yeah, have you ever heard of rain, sleet, snow, hail, fog, clouds? You know, weather patterns? Yeah, your vision is also going to be limited by dirt, dust, smog, smoke, pollution, and chemtrails. Exactly. And even the highest you can go, like here's the video I showed earlier from 121,000 feet high, and the horizon is flat, might I add. You notice those clouds down there? Yeah, just blocking my vision. I can't see anywhere on Earth, even though it's flat. Even though I'm 121,000 feet high, I can't see anywhere on Earth. Those damn clouds are blocking my vision. Just as the smog, the smoke, the dust, the dander, the chemtrails, and all that will block your vision, and it will haze out your telescope. That's why even on a small hill, just right there next to Los Angeles, the buildings are hazing out, and you can't even see past the buildings. Your vision is limited by many factors. Alright, so now we move on to boats on the horizon. This one is super easy to debunk. Boats don't disappear over the curvature of the horizon. Boats disappear due to perspective. All you have to do is go to the beach, watch a boat disappear from your eye, and then whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your high-powered zoom on your camera, and you can pull the entire boat right back into view. Whole mass and all. Yeah, that's right. You think the boat disappeared? Just whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your zoom camera. You bring the entire boat back into view, completely debunking everything Coy just told you. And here's my video proof. These are done with a Nikon 900. Imagine that. You can debunk the curvature of the Earth yourself with just a simple zoom on your camera. Bye-bye, little boat. So you've heard Coy completely contradict himself by earlier saying the Earth is so massive that curvature just seems to be invisible, but then he just said you can see a boat go over curvature after just 4 miles?
And the final reason has to do with shadows, and something that a man named Eratosthenes discovered thousands of years ago. Again, we've known this for a long time. Because if the Earth was flat and the sun was in the sky, no matter where you'd be on Earth, shadows would have the same length. But they don't, and that's because the Earth is round. There's a great video to explain this by Carl Sagan, and I'll show you a quick segment now.
Here's a map of ancient Egypt. I've inserted 2 sticks or obelisks. One up here in Alexandria, and one down here in Syene. Now, if at a certain moment each stick casts no shadow at all, that's perfectly easy to understand, provided the Earth is flat. If the shadow at Syene is at a certain length, and the shadow at Alexandria is the same length, that also makes sense on a flat Earth. But how could it be, Eratosthenes asked, that at the same instant there was no shadow at Syene and a very substantial shadow at Alexandria? The only answer was that the surface of the Earth is curved.
Yet another fallacy coming out of your mouth, Coy. So far it's been nothing but fallacies. Your whole video is riddled with fallacies. You think on a flat Earth all the shadows would be the same? That would mean you think that the sun is 93 million miles away and is a big giant burning gas ball. But we flat earthers know the sun is much smaller and is very close. And therefore, the sun being directly over the top of you won't cast a shadow. And something 1,000 miles away will cast a shadow. Therefore, you can have differing shadows on a flat earth with a sun that's much closer.
That was actually one of the first ancient discoveries that made us really see the Earth must be round, and it was such a correct and precise thing that Eratosthenes almost perfectly predicted the circumference of the Earth. So there we have it, the truth, the light, the honest answer, and the facts behind it as to what kind of Earth we live on. Now I know you've seen doctored pictures and cool Photoshop and these trendy little things online that show the Earth is flat, but it's simply not true. There's a difference between fallacies and facts and a presentation of a point that holds merit in the scientific community with something this important and this huge, and then something that doesn't. The flat Earth theory is absolute nonsense, and I really only made this video because there's been so many people asking me that I didn't want them to have to worry about it anymore. The Earth is round, it's a ball, and if you've ever taken a plane ride, you can sort of see that curvature even on the small scale it is. I think people just can't grasp how big the Earth really is, and therefore when they see this theory, because it sounds cool and it's getting a little trendy again, they want to roll with it. Roll with it. That is the flat Earth theory. It shouldn't even be called the flat Earth theory. It should be called the flat Earth fraud or the flat Earth fallacy. So that is my video today, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave those comments below. And as always, I will see you guys next time.
Well, Coy, I thoroughly enjoyed debunking each and every piss-poor argument you brought forth today. It is apparent that your level of research into this topic was very minimal. And it is also very obvious that you don't belong in an argument like this. I consider you low-hanging fruit. It was pretty easy for me to destroy each and every one of your pitiful arguments. So I think I'm gonna go for a bigger challenge next time. Hey, Bill Nye the Science Guy. Or how about the man himself, Neil deGrasse Tyson? I would love to debate you. But chances are, Coy, he won't be opening his mouth about the flat Earth anytime soon. But if he does, I would be glad to back up this truck that I just ran over him with. I would be glad to back it on up over him again and finish the job. But I'm pretty sure he's going to keep his mouth shut about the flat Earth from now on. This is what happens when a flat earther and a globe head do battle. The flat Earth always wins because the flat Earth is truth. You can't beat the truth. You can parrot all the bullshit you want, but the truth will defeat it. Flat Earth is truth. This is the Flat Earth asshole. Like, subscribe, and comment down below. And here's one for you, coy boy. Flat Earth in your face.